Well, hey, welcome back to the 2026 Channel CropCast, the April 29th edition, and I am Tyler Brugdenhill, your technical agronomist for Channel here in South Central Nebraska. As we go to our bare soil temperatures, as we've done in previous videos, bit chilly last night in South Central Nebraska. Lots of freeze warnings out, and had a good dose of frost on my grass as I woke up this morning as well. So lots of questions being thrown around with some soybeans coming out of the ground. We were at 41 degrees here at 4-inch soil temperature in Kearney here this morning. Now, the interesting part is if you look at accumulated growing degree units for Kearney as well, in the month of April, we're still tracking about 50 growing degree units ahead of what we would call normal for that black trend line. So still ahead in growing degree units. I've had several conversations around this. What does that mean for things like weed emergence, also insect emergence? Talked to a lot of people that have seen more insects at this time of year than we have previously. So um, definitely a something to keep in mind as we continue through the growing season here. Of are we going to have those pests be seen maybe a little bit earlier than we typically expect to see them in the past? First question that I wanted to go to is the corn leafing out below ground. I've had several conversations on this with folks, and uh, when we think about corn emergence and what could all go right and what can all go wrong during that time, um, the one thing we got to think about is what's happening when that mesocotyl elongates. So, what can impact that? Well, the reality is there's several things that can be impacted by that. This can be as basic as soil crusting and compaction. So maybe soil conditions weren't exactly perfect when we put it in. Things like imbibitional chilling, so getting uptake of really cool water in that first 48 hours of planting. Kernel position in the seed trench can be as simple as that. How was that embryo facing when it got positioned by the planter in the seed trench? Deep planting. I've had several people ask me about, hey, how deep was too deep this year? What did that look like? Had to plant into moisture. Took it a couple extra days to come up, but I feel like I got a better stand because I put it into moisture and maybe it came up more even. So there's a lot of things that feed into this. Again, acid aniline herbicides. So if you're using an acetochlor or an S-metolachlor, either a straight product or in a premix, if we get those herbicides applied along with cool, wet conditions, sometimes that can even have an impact on this. So, soil conditions that allow light to be absorbed prior to getting to the soil surface or emergence. So, I sit here and think about, gosh, if a guy strip tilled and we didn't have ideal conditions during that, and we had a little bit of, poor seed to soil contact there, got some light going through, that can definitely have an impact on a situation like this as well. The other fun thing, I'm going to sound like a used car salesman a little bit here, but it can be a combination of those things. So when I say one can play off of the other and snowball that effect, that's definitely something that can absolutely happen here. So corn leafing out underground, it's usually a combination of things, but there can be some things to go back and consider if you see this happening on a higher level than it probably should be. And the big one that I've already gotten several questions on this morning is frost damage on soybeans. So with earlier and earlier planting dates, this is getting to be a more popular practice. Get the beans in before the corn. The things to consider here are a number of different factors. So number one, I always treat this type of event almost similar to a hail event in the fact that we've got to let the plants have enough time to respond. So let them tell you, am I dead as a doornail, or am I going to show some resurgence, and is my growing point good enough that I'm going to have some regrowth, like you see in that picture on the left? So timing is everything. The reality is we still have a lot of time to plant some really good yielding soybeans in the month of May here. Um, the reality is we've got to give these things time. And similar to a hail event, it's going to be all about, hey, if I did lose some stand, also how even is that spacing that I lost it in? If it's a area that's low lying that got absolutely smoked, took every plant, those are going to be areas where we're probably going to have to really consider going in and replanting some. If it's more of an even spacing thing and we have the ability to still have a good stand from a yield stability standpoint, and they're going to have the opportunity to shade the rows, so we have help for weed suppression, and we still are going to be able to grow a really good high yielding soybean crop. It's probably one where, hey, keep the existing stand, and it's going to be what it's going to be. So appreciate you tuning in as always. Be safe, make every acre count, and reach out to your local seed professional, your field sales agronomist, your sales agronomist, or your technical agronomist if you have any questions. Have a good day.